tuning in from. I'll do a quick intro. My name is Anamaria, and I'm tuning in from Amsterdam today. I had a very packed back-to-back meetings this afternoon. I just joining with Millie, and so our facilitation skills are going to be flexed today, which is exciting. And we are tuning into the very last session of our Career Leap program. We had to also postpone this session. And we're closing a wonderful program which was aimed at ways in which we can pivot our career from and leap into different roles inside L&D, in L&D leadership, from internal L&D to external L&D, etc. And so we believe that posting on LinkedIn, showing up on LinkedIn, and building our network through LinkedIn as a platform of choice can be a very great professional boosting move. Mita and I have been doing it for a while now, and we are no experts, so maybe we can start with that. If you're looking for like easy growth hacks and things like that, you're not going to find them here. But what you're going to find is honest tips and tricks and whatever has worked, and transparent things that have worked or not worked for us. So we are two open books. Feel free to use the chat to pop in your questions. We're going to have time for Q&A as well. And while we do that, so we have emotions, like everyone's kind of like all over the board. Some are excited, others are not. I'm passing the talking stick to Millie to say hello as well, and I'm moving on to the next icebreaker here. So Millie, over to you.
Hello, everyone. This is so exciting. Over 80 people in the room. This is going to be really fun. My name's Millie. I am the founder of Generalist World, and I live in Scotland. I live in the Scottish Highlands on a little island about 7 hours north of Glasgow, Edinburgh, if you're familiar with them. So I live off an island, and it's from here that I work online. And one of the reasons that I've been able to grow the Generalist World movement to over 100,000 people is firstly because of my right-hand person who is in the room. Her name is Edja. And secondly, because of LinkedIn and TikTok and the internet and this basically this lottery that we all get to spin the wheel every day. It's like a lottery, but it's free to play. And so, yeah, as Anamaria said, very excited to dive in. This is not going to be the hacky guru kind of advice, but yeah, absolute open book. The more questions you have, great. We're just going to kind of freestyle this. So please drop your questions. And my goal for this is by the end that everyone has some really solid tips, and you feel more confident than when you started to go and post on LinkedIn in a way that feels really aligned for you.
Sweet. I see that we're all over the board here. We are some baby ninjas, just starting our journey on posting on LinkedIn, but we do have some people in the middle, and I see Saeed is in the room. He's closest to the deadliest ninja alive on LinkedIn. If you follow him, you'll know. And so this is also an encouragement for you to just raise your hand, unmute, pop in. If you have a tip to a question that we're bringing, let's just bring our whole experiences with this platform and with the freaking algorithm to the conversation, and let's unpack and untangle this. And thank you very much for the check-in here. Let's actually go ahead and try to see a bit, what are we struggling with when it comes to posting on LinkedIn right now? Let's start with the pain points. What are some of the things that go through your mind? Rational, irrational, things you've tried, anything at all? And there's a poll that opened on the screen where you can add in your thing, or feel free to put them in the chat as well.
The cringe.
Talking to stranger, relevance, consistency. You can also upvote the things that are kind of oh yeah, that's the one. Posting. Okay, Christina, I see you. Getting people to interact, content curation, relevance, having the time to write new ideas. What if it doesn't make sense? Shame. Everything is AI generated. Okay, Martina. We can talk about that. I see it happening too. Relevance, don't know where to start. How do I post the first time? All right. So we really, we kind of had a hunch that we're going to have people all over the spectrum. Some of us have probably played with it and got burned. Some of us have tried and felt like, oh, it doesn't work. Am I talking into ether? Is like anyone listening? And some of us are really at the stage where it's like, I don't even know what to post. Like, I'm so scared of posting. I have no idea. I feel shame. I have no idea what to post, what ideas. And so we really wanted to start from the basics. And so the beginning of the session is going to be focused on purely the basics. And every time I talk to people and they ask me, and we talk about LinkedIn, the biggest challenge is I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to share. I don't know what to post. I don't think that the stuff I'm working on and the things I'm thinking are worth sharing, or they have no ideas. And so we're going to start from there. Content, what can we post, etc. And we're going to refresh from that, and we're going to close with your questions. So feel free to put them in the chat throughout so that Melia and I can come back to that. And by the way, in case you haven't noticed, this session is being recorded and it's going to land on YouTube and in the L&D Shakers community so that folks can see what we're kind of exchanging here. Okay, thank you, everyone. Closing the poll now and moving on to the meat and the potatoes. What are we gonna post about? So what are the things that I should be posting about? And Mili, how do you do that? Like, how do you know what to post? What are you posting about? How have you figured that out?
So I think the first thing I would do is remove the word should. I think this is the thing that people get so put out. What should I post about? And I actually think it's the wrong question. But perhaps it's better to say, what could I post about? Or what am I really excited to post about? Like when I started on LinkedIn, which was about 3 years ago, I started from zero on this island, no network, nothing, but I knew I needed a way to get in front of people and to become highly visible. I was in the exact same boat where I was like feeling, oh gosh, like what do I have to bring? What is my value? What can I uniquely add here? And I think what I've learned about posting is it is a muscle. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Edger will be able to verify this. Everything is content. It's hilarious. It's actually debilitating when you get to this level, and there is nothing that I can't turn into content. And that's only because it is a muscle. And when you're in those beginning stages and you're thinking, oh my gosh, what should I post? I would recommend forgetting that you're posting to however many people, 1 billion. Don't think that. Forget that. You're posting to one. And it can be helpful to say, okay, I'm posting to me 6 months ago. What have I learned in the last 6 months? What's something I've learned in the last week, whatever the time frame might be, that would be a helpful thing for that person 6 months ago. And pretty much my only rule of thumb for LinkedIn and for any really social posting is it useful? Is it useful? Is this going to be useful for someone? Is this going to be useful for you 6 months ago? Great. Push publish. And the last little point on this is I know that it's scary at the beginning because you're like, the whole world will be judging me. The beauty of being at the beginning is actually very few people will probably see your post. So it is the best time to experiment because you're going to get like this crew of people, probably quite a small crew, and that crew will eventually grow. But it's all good because if not many people are seeing it, then what a cool chance to experiment.
I'll want to invite those of you in the room that are posting and have experimented with that to put in the chat so we can all have like some ideas of what is helping us. And to me, I started 6 years ago. And for me, I haven't even thought too much about it, I have to say. I don't know if it was like the blessing of the I don't care. I started using LinkedIn as a learning journal. So I was listening to a podcast and I had 3 takeaways. I would put it on LinkedIn. It didn't even matter if there were likes. That wasn't the point. I attended a workshop. I took pictures. I met 3 cool people and I took selfies with them. I would put it on the LinkedIn and say, I took this course and I've met Vivian and Angela and they're really cool people. And so I really used it as a way to share the things that I'm learning. And it's interesting how that has evolved over time. So I started, then I moved into curation. So not just my experiences, things that I'm reading, other people's work, shout outs, etc. And eventually, once I stepped into the beautiful world of community building and I started doing so many things with so many cool people, it's when I started to share my work. And the last step is when you start to form opinions around a certain topic or a certain object. And then it's when you start to share your own takes. And for me, that took years. It took years to share takes. And I was like, that's fine. You don't have to share your own take. You can share your own take to someone else's work, to someone else's podcast, to an article, to a newsletter, etc. And so thank you. I see here some discovery call. All right, so keep them coming and feel free to browse the chat as well. There's some great, ignore the gurus. So great tips, gold in the chat. I have brought some of the things that have helped me throughout to kind of spark this, I call them buckets, right? So what can Anamaria talk about? What can I talk about? And somewhere along the way, I decided that that's going to be somehow linked to my work. It doesn't have to be. And I simply created buckets around the things that I'm passionate about, the things that I'm working on. So I have a bucket that goes around community building. I share about that. I have a bucket around learning experience design or experience design generally, and I have another bucket around facilitation. So those are my 3 buckets. And I always recommend folks to have 3 or 4 buckets, and you can change the buckets, rename them, make them bigger, make them small. It doesn't matter as long as you kind of have some form of pointers to make it easy to start. And I brought a few questions that have helped me along the way to kind of figure out, well, what could those buckets be, like the main themes, if you like. And this is also the question that after years of posting on LinkedIn, someone asked me, well, what do you want to be known for? Because at the beginning, it's like, I had very few followers. And again, that wasn't the point. But as you start to post and meet like-minded people and start having conversations in chat, people will start to know you for something, for the things you're posting. And just today, I had a chat with someone that lives in Dubai. And they said, I never talked to you, but it's so interesting how you live in Amsterdam, like on the other side of the world. And whenever I think about community, I only think about you. Isn't that weird? And that felt so good to hear, because I'm like, it's all I've been talking about for the past 5 years, so it's working. But a good question is, what do we want to be known about? Millie, over to you.
Yes. And one of my, the way I think about this, I have this kind of framework called known, own, tone. So I think if you're listening to the gurus, they're going to say, pick a niche, more narrow, go niche down. And that just was, I'm a generalist. So that clearly is just not my jam, not my bag. It's not going to work. So known, own, tone is something I kind of thought through very early on. Exactly what Anamaria said. What do I want to be known for? It might be 3, 4, 5 things, whatever it might be. What am I going to own? What do you stand for? Like, what is your spiky point of view? What is your perspective? And this might develop as you start posting. But I think eventually this is an opportunity for you to really own something. So for me, I'm like, we're owning this generalist movement. And then tone, I think, is also really important, particularly with all the AI slop that is coming on. So getting really comfortable, and it might take a while. It took me quite a while to be able to find my voice and to be able to find the tone that I use on LinkedIn. But it's now so strong that like people would know if it wasn't me posting, because it's just a very, very clear tone. So known, own, tone are the 3 things I would be thinking about.
All right. Amanda says, what do I want to be known for? It's so intimidating. It is. And I'm happy I heard about that once I was like 2-3 years in my LinkedIn journey. And I kind of was like, yes, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm doing it for me. And you can just ignore that. If you feel like, oof, that feels like too big for me, that's fine. You can totally put it aside. So back to the questions. Some of the things that I ask myself, and they're proving helpful to me, and I still do that when I'm like, what should I talk about? What should I post? What do people consistently come to you for advice? Like, what do they ask? They already recognize that you have something to share. with regards to that topic. And so that's a good sign. It means that you're already associated with that. So what do people constantly come to ask for advice? What are the conversations you're having with others? And I'm going to rapid fire go here through the topics. But as the questions are popping on the screen, I want you to take a piece of paper or like your note app and think about them. And if there's any idea that sparks, just put it down. So if you're like, what do people consistently come to you for advice? If something comes to your brain, put it on a paper, because we're going to come back to them. If you are paid to think all day about one topic, what would you never get tired of? What is the thing that you're so deeply passionate about, that you care about, that you can't stop reading about and talking about and stressing everyone that knows you about? That's a good starting point as well. I like this. I'm struggling with this personally, but I absolutely adore. I'm so pulled in when I see other people do that well. And I think Millie is someone that does that very, very well. Find the enemy. Now, enemy is a strong word, but what is something you stand against? What is something that you would like? What is a myth that you would like to see gone? What is a misconception, a piece of advice that you see circulating, but you think it's actually doing more harm than good? Like, what is something that you see in the world and you believe, hey, I really see this from a different light. I'm going to talk about this and I'm going to share this. And Millie obviously talks a lot about this, the difference in between generalist and how and becoming a deep down specialist into one single point. And she has a lot of hot takes, right? So that's the enemy. Like, what is your hot take into something? Check your digital breadcrumbs. I do this a lot. Even today, after 5 years of posting on LinkedIn, I am curating a lot as well and still share other people's work. So what type of content do you consume? Podcasts, newsletters, what do you read, magazines, books, etc.? That is not work related. It can be work related, but if you really want to find an edge, something that is very you, in order to link it and infuse it, you can also look into the things that are non work related. Again, if something comes to mind, put it on the paper. 2 worlds that I am uniquely positioned to blend. So I could blend tech and psychology. I could blend design and activism, and it can be more than 2 words. And for example, I am blending learning experience design with facilitation. Millie, what are you blending?
Probably a few different worlds. I guess future of work with remote work, and bootstrapping would probably be in there, like company building. So I would say those 3 are probably my top.
Yeah. So generalist, she's talking about how do I build from an island, what life of a life of a founder, and you can mix and match the things that you're very passionate about. And I think someone put in the chat, I have so many things, I have so many passions, so many things I'm interested about. How do I do that there? They converge in you. I always tell people, they converge in you. It doesn't have to have, you don't need to have necessarily a red thread. It doesn't have to tell a full-fledged story. But what they do have in common is the fact that it's your lived experience, it's your passion, it's your interest. What is invisible in your resume? I love this. So what is something that you're qualified to talk about, but it's not because of a job title or something you've done in the past, but it's a lived experience you have. So for me, I rarely talk about this, but I could talk about the experience of being an expat and moving to a different country and living in a country that is not my own, for example, and the flexibility that brought, and the resilience that has taught me, and the hardship that I went through, and all that, and how it has built me as a person. And you see that through my CV, but it's not something that it's not a job title. It's not something that I would actively promote. What else is there in your life that you could talk about? And I think this is the last one. A while back, when I launched my business, I reached out to some friends and people I work with, and I asked them, how do you see me? Like, what do you think are my strengths? And what came back was mind-blowing. And these were my friends, people that I knew very well, and they said things about me that I had no idea that they observed or saw, or things that me, myself, I haven't observed. So a good question is, what is the strength you underestimate because it comes naturally to you? And what do people often thank you, but for you, it's like, oh no, don't say, like, that's nothing, right? That is absolute gold. That is your your strength, the thing that comes natural to you, that's a wealth. It's almost like a never-ending well of content and things that could propulse you forward. All right. So these were just a few examples, not exhaustive, but just a few things to get your brain going. And now we're gonna play with that. What are 2-3 possible content buckets or topics? And I'm opening a poll here as well. I want to see what surfaced for you since we started the chat and had this conversation. What are some of the things that came to mind for you? What could you talk about? Oh my God, Gary, self-development, growth mindset, karate, toop toop. Food waste, accessibility. I don't totally hate AI. Nice. AI, sustainability. Interviews. Teachers. Hey, Maxine.
While folks are answering this, I want to add another little tip, particularly if you're at the phase where you're like, okay, these are my topics, but I'm still not there to the posting. A great stepping stone into posting is actually commenting and being like a really quality commenter and replier. You get like, it's so important now. LinkedIn even shows you like the views of the comment, which I thought was a little strange at the beginning, but I think that shows how much they're prioritizing it. And particularly because there are so many AI comments, you can really stand out. Like if you're not ready to do the full post, do 10 thoughtful comments, maybe over a couple of days. And that's another fantastic way to build that muscle, to get more comfortable and to start building your network.
LinkedIn is also pushing comments more. Like, I think they changed their strategy. And so you can see now how many times your comment was seen and how many impressions it had. So it works almost like a post, but it probably builds much more connection with the person you're commenting to the post you're commenting to.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally called social media. And so this is what they're wanting. They're wanting engagement. They're wanting you to comment. And it is, I'm just seeing this question. How many comments did you say? That was just made up. I said 10, but you can literally do as many or as few as you want. You could set, if it would be helpful, I know some people are quite like goal orientated, you could set like, okay, this week I'm going to do 10 comments. Today I'm going to do 10 comments. I think the key is here, finding something that's sustainable for you. I think so many people go out the gate and they're like, all right, I'm going to do 100 comments every day for the next 6 weeks. And it's like, okay, that's a big change from nothing, like 0 to 100, literally. So I like to think of this as like your operating rhythm, and LinkedIn is a long game. If you're trying to just go on LinkedIn to go viral, I think you're going to be quite disappointed. It's really hard and it's not as exciting on the other side because you're not actually building these deep connections. But if you are thinking, like I take a 5-year view to LinkedIn. So that's, if one of my posts doesn't fly, I'm like, that's cool. 5 years ahead, like it's all good.
And we can talk about the art of repurposing content as well. I've learned this very, very late in the game. Okay, fab. So now we kind of have these buckets, topics. They're not set in stone. You can change at any time based on the work, where you're at the moment. You can always reinvent yourself in life and on LinkedIn too. And I'm taking this a step further into examples. So now I'm like, okay, I think I know like what I'm passionate about, what the things that I'm reading about, what I'm thinking about, what I care about. How do I post about that? Like, what are my options? And so there's so many different ways to post, and you just have to start to see which ones you also prefer. I tend to do less of what the algorithm likes and do more of what I like, because it's my LinkedIn and I play by my rules. So here are just a few examples of things that that I am doing, and I'm going to put a Miro board as well because I copy pasted some of the posts as well for a long time. So this is very rudimentary, but you're going to see it in the link in the LinkedIn post as well. For a long time, when people were asking me, like, how you're everywhere on LinkedIn, how do you do that? How do you share so much? How do you post so much? My answer will be, I do cool stuff and I talk about the cool stuff I'm doing. That's my philosophy. Do cool things, and if you're not into the doing, like read cool things, watch cool things, talk to cool people, and then go ahead and share the cool things that you're reading, listening, doing, learning. That's it. My strategy, it boils down to that. And then I have a few ways of sharing that. And I talked a lot about this curation versus creation. At the start, for 2 years, I haven't created anything from scratch. There was nothing that I had to, there was no blank page. I always started from someone else's work, from someone else's piece of content, and I shared that. So I look at this axis of curated versus created. Created takes much more effort. Curated, it's much easier. And in curation, I have kind of 2 levels that I looked at. I just share a thing. I found it, I share it, that's it. I probably put on my thoughts around it. And the level 2 is I elevate it. And the way I elevate it is I probably take 10 tools you can use to bring in more virtual engagement in your sessions. And then a simple one would be like, I found this little cool poll tool. It's called Mentimeter. Use it. Here's how I use it. Here's an example, right? So a curation that it elevates it a bit. So it's a bit more meaty. These are your listicles. These are the things you put together, the things that you're kind of putting a string of curated resources together. And then I have in all of them, I have something that is low effort and high effort, and somewhere in the middle. I'm going to put the Miro board in the chat in case it didn't open for you properly. And then I just gave some examples to some of my posts in case you want to see what that looks like. So here are some, let me actually go to that because I don't see it very, so if we're going to the Miro board, I'm doing things with like share a white paper. Have you read the book? Share about it. Have you found a cool website? Share about it. Listen to a podcast and share your 3 takeaways. Resurface old posts. Put together a list of resources. Make detailed notes from an event you attended, like today, for example, or take a screenshot and put it on LinkedIn with what you've learned. So these are just a few examples, and I use these ones a lot. So that's why it was very easy for me to pull them together, because that's my go-to. That's how I play on LinkedIn. You might play in a very different role. And for example, in this case, I know that Mili she is creating a lot of content. So she actually puts her thoughts into the world. How do you do that, Mili? Like, do you have a system? Do you have tell us, how do you manage to put so much original content and thoughts into the world?
Yeah, so I believe I have posted nearly every workday for over 1,000 days. It's a ridiculous amount of content. And how do I do it? I think the first step is to be curious about the stuff that you're already doing. So I've seen in the chat people like, but I'm not doing anything interesting. And I'm like, I would beg to differ. Like, I think if you look at it maybe from a different angle, from a different lens, humans are so interesting, and the stuff that you're putting out and the stuff that you're outputting, there will be something that you can grab onto in there. I think for how I actually create it, I have a couple of rules. I don't schedule a single thing. I have never scheduled a post. I think ultimately what a post is a transfer of energy, which might sound a little bit woo-woo, but it's like, however I'm feeling about this post, if I'm feeling a bit blah, it's not going to fly. It's just not. But if I'm feeling like excited or have some oomph or anger or whatever it is behind this post, it's likely going to do better, because like emotion travels through words. So I know, again, as Anamaria said, some people will want to play in a different sandbox here. For me, scheduling, it actually gives me anxiety. even thinking, because I'm like, I don't know how I can transfer the energy in the future. Like, I can just do it now. So my first rule is don't schedule it. When you get that lightning bolt of inspiration, stop what you're doing, get the blank screen out, write it out in one post. The most important thing of your entire post is, unfortunately, the hook. I wish it weren't the case. I wish it weren't the case that we had to use these hooks, but ultimately we do. If you cannot get people in the first 3 lines of your post, it doesn't matter how wonderful or intelligent or helpful the rest of the post is, you're going to lose them. So I would spend maybe like 60% of my like creative energy on that. And I think the last point in how do I do this so often, when I first started posting a lot, I thought it was going to be a purely creative act, that I'd be tapping into the part of my brain, which is really creative. And like, I like to say my first love is writing. So I do think that I have an advantage here in that I love writing. However, as I've gotten into it and as I've gotten deeper and put out more content, I realized that it's actually not so much about the creativity and it's more about the reflection. So a good post is just a result of deep thinking. And so now I post every single day, yes, to build brand, yes, to grow GW, all of those things. But actually, it just makes me a clearer, sharper thinker about what I'm doing. It's almost like having an emerging diary or an emerging journal, where sometimes I'll like write it and I'm like, aha, yes, that makes sense about why I'm feeling this way. Or so yeah, there are a couple of tips.
Thank you. All right, so because we want to go to questions really fast, and I've already started pinning some in the chat, keep them going. I want to challenge you a bit now. We have like some content buckets, and you've seen like some of the type of curated, created articles, small things, but like carousels, etc. They come in so many different shapes and forms. Videos, carousels, an image, a graphic, just plain text. You could write a LinkedIn article, whatever. I want to give everyone the opportunity to maybe let's take 2 minutes here on the clock. I'm going to put a timer and you're going to take notes. You can use the chat to take notes if you want to. Otherwise, in Butter, right before the chat, you have a notes, like a little pen icon, and then you have private notes. So you can take your notes there or on a sheet of paper. And I want you to take this opportunity and just very fast in 2 minutes, a list of topics and things you could talk about. Things you could curate, create, think about, talk about. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to know what comes under that. We're just looking for a list of topics. But when the timer closes, I want you all to go to the chat and tell us how many have you found. 5, 6, 7, 10, 20, 200. Let's go. 2 minutes. What can you post about? Okay, 5 seconds. Alrighty. Drop a number in the chat, everyone. I'm curious to see how many topics, things we could post are on the list. Going strong. I love it. Well done. Five, but many are controversial. I love that, Eileen. Burn. All right, beautiful. Hold on to them. This is your mini little starting point. 3 full bucket list, a list of 5 topics. That's your go. That's the green light. That's all the permission you need. That's all you need. Put down 3 paragraphs, 2 sentences, put it out there. Let's see what happens. All right. Should we move into the questions? Give me a little finger wiggle if you're ready for questions. Yes. All right. So there on the top of, yes, we have several ways to ask questions. Eileen already discovered one. It's the mic, and I'm going to give the mic in a second to her and Elizabeth as well. So you can queue up for the mic in the queue to like on top of the chat. Otherwise, in the chat, if you have it open at the top, there's a Q&A function as well where you can ask your questions there. How do you repurpose? We're going to come to that in a second. Okay, so Eileen, you're gone from the queue. So Elizabeth, over to you. You've got the mic. Feel free to unmute and ask a question.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much, teacher and Patrol, but I have a question. How do you measuring everything from your post? I mean, are you guys always like very conscious about the statistics and amount of engagement?
So we hear you very muffled at times. Mm-hmm. How do we measure the impact of the posts?
Yes.
Oh, it's better now. Tell us.
Yes. How do you measure your post or your like the amount of engagement? Are you always like conscious about it, like tracking everything? Yeah, that's all my question.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you so much.
I am not tracking too much, I have to say. I wish I could like be better at that. Are you tracking that, Millie? I mean, obviously I look at likes and reshares and so on, and I have posts where like it explodes and it's very hard to ignore. And then I have just like, I kind of know where my medium engagement is, like the generality of the posts where they lie in terms of likes and comments. But I don't stress too much about that. I do suffer when I think it's a really good, valuable, packed post and it's not reaching people. That hurts. But yeah, what can you do? I'm going to repurpose that and give it another shape in a month from now and give it another chance. Millie, how about you?
Yeah, especially at the beginning, I would focus much less on using your valuable time to be tracking and much more on your valuable time to be creating and commenting. Now, like someone actually asked me earlier today, funnily enough, like how many people did I reach last month? And I'm like, great question. Like, I don't know. I don't follow it because I think it's fair. Like Anamaria said, you end up kind of with this base level. Like I know I'll be getting roughly this much engagement. And if that really drops, maybe I'm like, maybe I need to tweak something. But I think it can be a dangerous game to get too deep into the tracking and obsessive over the tracking, because then you're basically being this like slave to this algorithm. And maybe in the short term that spikes and, you know, you do the post where everyone's, I don't know, I think mostly they're probably bots commenting. And but like, what's your goal? Why are you actually taking this time out of your day and out of your week to do it? And if it is to build a brand, to build relationships, to build trust, then the short-term tracking doesn't matter so much. So I would keep like a small eye on it, but I don't like bother. It's more for me like a gut feel and like an instant response. How much are people instantly responding? That's kind of all the information I need.
All right. Let's try to, there's a lot of questions popping up, so we're trying to do like a bit of a rapid fire, tuck.
Let's do it.
What do you think about video versus post? In the most recent analysis of the algorithm, I would assume here, Eileen, we're suggesting as much of efficient way is to read the video. In the most recent, we're suggesting as most efficient way to reach your audience, video, right? I don't know. I know you experimented with video, Millie. I think more than I did. I have to say, I've uploaded some videos. I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this uplift into, like, it hasn't worked for me. So it's probably, I'm curious if there's a certain type of video that works. I don't know, like more the TikTok-y thing. I don't know. Tell us. I think you've played with it a bit.
I think video was really sexy for a hot minute. LinkedIn was like, we're going to do video. And everyone on LinkedIn was like, no, we're not. And it just kind of like the people spoke. And I mean, we know they rolled it back because at one point they rolled out a video tab and then they were like, maybe not. So like if video is, again, your jam and your strength and you're like, oh, I'm going to like really perform. And this is where I feel really strong. Sure, experiment with video. But I think ultimately LinkedIn is pulling back. That's what I'm kind of feeling and seeing. I'm not seeing as many videos in the feed. So I think post is probably what I'd stick with.
Fab. Okay. Highlight? Why are you not going away? What's happening here? Okay, I can't highlight this one. Something's blocked here, but I'm gonna read it. I would love to post my controversial takes, but I would get in trouble with my very conservative corporate environment for sure. Not sure what to do about it, but if you have any ideas, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I can kick us off. I think ultimately it's a really tough market at the moment. And if you truly think that you're going to get in trouble and maybe like will get like disciplined or maybe even let go because of this, I'd be really cautious to do that. And I think there's a difference between having like a spiky point of view and a controversial point of view. For me, I actually kind of stay away from the controversy on LinkedIn. To be honest, I play it a bit more safe. But that's where I stand. Where do you stand, Anamaria?
Yeah, I would definitely proceed with cautious. I wonder what controversial means. Is it like your personal opinion onto something? Is it like, what makes it controversial? Why would they react to that? I think is it the way I'm positioning it? Is it like the words I'm using? Can you say the same thing with less stronger words? Can you pack it into something a bit more digestible? And maybe the first thing that when I hear that question that came to mind, to be honest, for me was this, could you write a newsletter? Like, could you write a newsletter under how do you call that thing when you're like
anonymous?
Yeah, like on a different, you can call yourself the hot take, whatever. And then you're kind of like collecting an audience for those hot takes, but you're not disclosing if it's you or not. I don't know if that's exactly subset underpinning. That was Clara. That was the thing that I was looking for. All right. Let me quickly I'm going to go to Enrique first, and then we have a bunch of other pinned questions here. Enrique, over to you.
Hello. Hi, nice to meet you. Speaking from Amsterdam too.
Hey.
Just a quick question about vulnerability, because I know that the vulnerable personal content, it works really well, but where do you draw the line? Because sometimes I feel like it's too much and I'm actually not super comfortable doing it. And then I overcorrect and then I'm too strict with myself and I just share like facts and figures. So where do you put that line?
This is such a great question. It's this like idea of like oversharing or how much of myself do I give? I think my first thing is you don't have to show up as your full self anywhere. You have the boundaries and the autonomy to be like, I'm actually going to draw a line here. So for example, I have some hard boundaries. I don't speak about my husband online To me, that's sacred. That's like, and other people might, maybe their kids and their families. For me, that's not a LinkedIn thing that I feel like happy crossing into. However, I think my philosophy for this, and actually came from a friend, her name's Courtney Johnson. She's a brilliant social media expert, if you want to follow her. She simply says, be more honest. Be more honest. And being more honest can often tap into your vulnerability without having to overshare everything in your life. You're simply being more honest. And honestly, LinkedIn needs it. LinkedIn needs it. And my best posts always are the ones where I'm not showing or telling every single thing about me, but I am being very honest. And often I'm saying the quiet part out loud, maybe the things that we're like talking about in the group chat or on GW community, but maybe not publicly. And I am just honestly saying that. So hopefully that helps.
Oh, thank you.
Fabulous. Okay, I've pinned some questions here. So we're going to go like one by one. My current bucket is based on my job hunting experience as Georgia. Can I change when I get a job? And I already see Martina had added a really interesting comment there. When I was looking for a job, I positioned myself as already knowledgeable about the job, right? So it's a +1 for Martina's comment from me. Millie, do you have anything to add here?
No, that sounds awesome.
You're looking for a job. Don't make it about the job search. Make it about the type of job and the type of skills and your curiosities and what you're learning about that, and talk about that. That's what recruiters or hiring managers want to see when they land on your profile. So that would be my tip as well.
The only thing I would add, actually, it is an important one, is if you can use data when you're doing this, anytime that you can back things up with a story and then back it up with some kind of quantifiable data, it will really help, not just in your post, but also in your job search.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can I have a follow-up question to that?
Yep.
So in terms of if I position myself as an expert in that, where I'm going, what is it that, because what if someone is multi-potentialite, you know, like how would you separate, I don't know, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you would post on different topics, or what would you do? Because my problem is that I want to say a lot in a post.
Okay. So this links to another question that's in the chat. If you have multiple areas of interest, you struggle with specialization. And so how can you position yourself and showcase the value of that, right? And okay, I want to go back to position yourself as an expert or as a learner. Position yourself as an expert if you're the expert. If not, position yourself as the learner and your journey to becoming an expert. So there's a little caveat to that. I find that a bit more honest if we go back to Millie's point about honesty, right? So I want to talk about a lot of things. How do I mix that? How do I bring that into the profile? I feel that my things are quite connected. Like I see a red thread into the things that I talk about. So it's always about learning, but then it showcases in community, in experience design, in facilitation, etc. So I think my brain managed to find a link in between the two. So I'm going to pass this to Millie because she does talk about things that are quite apparently unrelated. How do you do it, Millie? Is there a strategy behind it?
I think the first thing I think is LinkedIn is just a kind of a reflection of like what humans are like. And there is no human that I know who is just about one thing. Like it just doesn't exist. So just showing that you have different sides to you doesn't necessarily mean it's certainly not a bad thing. I think it's how you frame it. And I think where maybe the challenge is trying to post about too many things, even in the one post. So a really simple rule is just like one promise equals one post. So in that post, you're going to promise them something. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's a data, maybe it's a learning, and you're going to deliver. Really simple. One promise, one post. And like, if you've got lots of things to post about, great. That's your content calendar. Like one promise, one post, post it 7 days a week. Fantastic. That's great. You're good. And if you, like, again, experiment, that you're not locked in. You're really not locked into anything. So if you get 4 weeks in and you're like, oh, but I don't want to talk about community building anymore. Great, you can stop. You don't need to post it again. I hope that helps.
Maybe some other thing that, like, at least for me, from this is pure my experience, it can look totally different for you. I create a different outlet. So I design, when I found that, oh, my LinkedIn is becoming a lot about community building, I was like, I'm very curious about experience design and like how learning can be done differently and how can it be creative. And I want to take inspiration from art and etc. I created a different avenue for me to explore that, which is my newsletter. So you could also create, not everything you share has to be on LinkedIn. If you feel like, okay, there's too disparate, well, choose Instagram for your knitting hobby and talk about that, and choose LinkedIn for your whatever thing, and choose your newsletter for something else, and launch a podcast for another topic, right? So I think you can also play a bit with the spaces in which you're talking or exploring or building your community around the different facets of like the things you're interested in. Okay, moving on. I've become a bit too addictive to LinkedIn. Who are you, Georgia? Are you me? And that's I'm not applying for as many jobs. How do I balance things? So I'm too addicted to LinkedIn and I'm not applying for as many jobs. Is that the challenge, Georgia? I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. I should be applying for jobs. Help me.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can't help.
Oh my God. I'm really bad at this because I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn too. Compartmentalize. You can spend time on LinkedIn after you apply to 2 jobs.
Like
I have nothing better to say there. I don't know if there's anyone in the call wiser than me to kind of give you some more tips. Feel free to jump in, folks.
okay.
I have 2 tips. One is to delete the app and only access via desktop. That's what Edja did. I think she may still not have the app. I'm not sure. And the second is to become a not just a consumer. So if you find yourself that you are consuming a lot of LinkedIn, have a rule. Be like, okay, if I'm going to go on, I have to comment. I have to contribute. I'm not just going to consume. Or if I go on, I have to post. Like, and so you get to make these little rules for yourself. And I do think the not having it on your phone could make the world of difference.
Thank you. Deleting the app did it the other day, and I was like, this is life-changing.
Yeah, there's your answer. Amazing.
Thank you for the advice.
Lara says, before you open the app, ask yourself, why am I opening it? Okay, 4 minutes. Let's do this, Millie. At the moment, everyone talks about AI and my perspective might differ from others. What if a recruiter sees my post, doesn't agree, and I missed out on a great opportunity because of it?
Interesting that you'd like kind of jump to that they would be completely count you out. I think one way is just in how you present this information. As Anamaria said, you could be a student of the topic, and you don't have to. I think there's this idea on LinkedIn that you have to come in with such a hard take and you're like, this is it. But you can also be like, hey, this is what I think at the moment. This is what I've learned right now. What do you guys think? And if the recruiter counts you out for a comment or something, then maybe they're not the right recruiter for you.
I think that would have been my thing. Do you really want to work in a space where diversity of thought or bringing different perspective is not valued? Yeah. And I know it's hard because we really need jobs. We need money to pay, like we need salaries, right? So I know that. Tone it down. I don't know. Just like be mindful with the words you're using and don't present it as a me against them. It's a different take. Basically what Millie said. I'm not good at writing posts that are under the curated, but I've only been doing creating. How do I overcome that? Well, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
If you're just creating, you don't have to curate, Georgia. Continue doing what you're doing. You don't have to curate if what you like is to create. Basically, there's no rule. So I don't know if this is helpful if you want us to go deeper there, but yeah. I wonder, do people engage on 100 comments and writing personalized comments to the same? You mean if all the 100 comments are personalized?
Do people engage, let's say, on 100 comments?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My question is like, typically, like when, let's say, the post gets viral, there are over 100 comments. So does people write personalized comment, or they do engagement on each post, on each comment? Sorry, I mean, like you wrote.
So if 100 people comment to my post, would I go to reply to every one of the 100 comments?
Yes. Does people really do that in reality? Like, let's say I want to be consistent, then I'm also like personally engaging into each one of the posts as well. Then I'm also expected to engage in other posts as well. Then where's the time for creativity and to think, like what next I can write about?
I don't answer every single comment because sometimes I lack the time, and sometimes there are comments that don't require an answer, so they ask, and then there are other comments that are very thought-provoking where we have a back and forth for like 10 comments. So I don't think there's a rule there, to be honest, as long as you just make it work for you. I wouldn't stress. I don't want to be the person who's like, I need to answer all the, I don't want that. Like, why would I want that? And so just do your best and answer when you can to the comments that you can, and be mindful about that.
My caveat here would be that LinkedIn does reward kind of this early engagement. So I would usually, as soon as I post, I would be in the local vicinity for about half an hour, and I would definitely reply to the first like 5-10, because that kind of boosts it. But then after that, it's like, absolutely give yourself grace. You can't reply to everyone, and no one's expecting that.
All right. Thank you so much. That's useful.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are at time officially closing our session. There are a few more questions in the chat. I'm happy to stay for 5 minutes longer, but just know that if you have places to be, dinners to eat, kids to put to sleep, you are dismissed. Millie, I want to thank you for your time and joining me to the session, and thanks everyone for all your questions. Happy to stay along, and you can watch the recording later on, and Millie as well. If you have to jump, feel free to do so. But a big round of applause. Do take one of the content buckets and one of the topics and post it and tag Millie and I, so we can comment, and you can comment, and we can do a commenting thread, and we can do a party on your LinkedIn to get this started. But this was great. Okay, if you have to go, I'll say bye.
See you later, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. See you on LinkedIn.
Thank you. Thanks, Millie. All right, and I'll stay 5 more minutes for those of you that are still keen to hear some more replies here, but also don't feel pressure to stay along. And I'll prioritize the people in the room, so feel free to just unmute and ask. So I don't answer comments from people that are not here anymore.
Can I go next? Okay. And another thing that I also want to highlight, because of course in the generalist world, when people have multiple areas of interest, and I still feel like the world is still obsessed with specialization, because you are still like building your capacity. So how one can position themselves, because one of the key tip that I also personally do is sharing some learning, some reflection. That's the easiest way. But how people also can take you more seriously, like in terms of the value, because you're not being perceived as an expert when you have multiple areas of interest.
Yes. I several things that come to my mind. Either you pick one or two that are very career focus relevant, because we're on LinkedIn at the moment. So the things that you want to be known for, the things that you want people to take you serious for, the people you want people to think you're an expert, etc., and focus more on those, and then adjacently kind of add the flavor. So every 2 weeks you post about something else, but you would focus your majority of your post on the other two buckets, right? And you leave the third bucket somewhere to the side. And otherwise, another thing, but it's very highly dependent on what the topics are and how many are there. You could do a mishmash. Like you could be known as the woman that talks about finance from a lens of sustainability, for example, right? And that could be your niche, and you could go and like kind of fuse those things together, and you can become an expert in that. Now, granted, it doesn't work with all of the things, right? So it's gonna be, but can you somehow find a Frankenstein, a niche from your interests? So if you can do that, and if you can't because they're very dispersed, I would just say pick your two main buckets and then have an adjacent bucket, which is the thing that you're exploring, the thing you're interested about. Or again, I'm going to come back to my thing. Can you create another avenue, another platform for one of these things if it's really detached from one another? Can you talk about it somewhere else to build your community around that somewhere else? I don't know if that's proving useful, but those were the a Venn diagram of niches. There we go, Said. That's what I would do. Those are like three things that come to mind.
Yeah, I think that's pretty useful. Like, we can just simply break down and then like, prioritize maybe like the first two, and then over the period of time, we can get some clarity as well, where we want to go next.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Anamaria.
My pleasure. Further questions?
Everyone. So my question was around engaging with people that comment on your post that may not somewhat be very helpful at times. I don't know if folks had any experience with that. I've definitely witnessed that on other posts where somebody comes in very, hot-headed, and they're not also very respectful of the poster. It happened to me. I'm curious, what is a good way to engage in that situation? The person is not trying to engage with you. They're not trying to have a conversation. They're just like, you're wrong, I'm right, and here's why. And it just shuts you down.
Okay, I'm going to first ask you, what does your intuition tell you about that? What would you do?
What would I do? I guess there could be two ways: either ignore the comment and just leave it there, or when I have this in a conversation one-on-one, not in writing, but if it's a conversation, I usually ask questions. Really, tell me more about that. I'm really curious where this is coming from. Like, your reaction seems a little bit too passionate, or there might be a better way to put that into words too. But just asking questions is usually my instinct. The comment, how long can you really get into that when the person is not receptive to it? So that's my challenge, I think. But if it's a one-on-one conversation, I'm all about it. I'll ask you questions. I'll be curious. I'll be open-minded. And if there's a point where it's coming to a point where I'm like, okay, well, this is not getting anywhere, I'm just gonna be like, thank you for that. Let's go on our own ways and have a great life.
Yeah. I've seen those types of comments in various degrees of rudeness, confrontation, etc. on other people's posts. I had a few on the lower ends of the scale, and to be honest, I decided on the spot. I don't have a way of approaching that. I read the comment, and if I feel that there is some opportunity for was this said as a way to start a conversation? Do I feel that there is some genuine, I feel a different way than you do? Then I would probably ask a question. Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more. If I feel that, oh, it comes across as brash, but I think there might be some genuine interest in open this up. And sometimes I see that there isn't. There's no way for me to know that. That's my gut feeling is telling me that. Or how do I feel in the moment? Maybe I'm not in the mood to open that conversation. I don't have to. Like, you don't have to open conversations with people that are coming a bit brash. And sometimes I ignore, and sometimes that's an interesting point of view. Thanks for sharing. No question. I acknowledge it. I'm not ignoring it. What I'm trying to say is I don't have a way that I deal with those comments that is standard. I will always do what I feel in the moment based on how I feel when I read the comment. And some of them are better left alone. Laura or Said, you wanted to add something here?
I just had one.
Or you had a question?
Comment.
Yeah.
I just had one comment to, as Ross said. First of all, yes, kill them with kindness. I just use it. Thanks a lot for your opinion, and then passive aggressiveness, which is fine. These are all strangers from the internet. Who cares about their opinion if it's something that's really aggressive? However, the fun thing about it is when they comment on something on your post, people in their network will see your post. So thanks for the promotion. And if you reply to it, like even if it's with something that's like nice or like killing the conversation in a nice way, it's still good for engagement. But there's no need, in my opinion, to like argue with people on the internet. Never worked out. You never changed anyone's opinion on the internet in the whole history of internet. Never happened. So yeah, just take it to your advantage. That's my point. And thanks for the engagement.
Makes me think on Cardi B, I think was like, thank you to my haters, right? When she accepted the award, thank you to my haters because they're listening to my songs. So there we go. It reminded me of that. Laura, first of all, hey, and then you've got the mic.
Hey, I asked a question about if you want to write something a bit more in long form, is it, you can do so on LinkedIn, they have their kind of blog capabilities, or is it better to put it in something like, to have like a Medium account and share? To LinkedIn punish you by not writing, for example, using their technology as opposed to using a Medium and sharing some of your thoughts?
Oh, this is, I think, a longer one. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to the, I think you choose the platform based on some of the goals that you have. I decided to run my newsletter and like my long form content outside of LinkedIn for the simple fact that you do not own the data. You do not see the emails. You cannot download the emails. So I wouldn't start a newsletter on LinkedIn. There are other people that are doing that, but for me it was very important to own my newsletter, to own the subscribers that I have.
If you don't want subscribers, though, you just, I don't know, you've got a topic and you just want to write an article, something you just would like to share and put it out there and say, hey, I've written about this longer. You're not looking for a newsletter or subscribers. You just want to put something out there. Is LinkedIn a kind of good enough forum to do that rather than having to go?
I'm writing LinkedIn articles for this long form content. And it lives on LinkedIn, so it is their content. You can copy paste it somewhere else, right? So you're building on someone else's ground. However, the good part is that they're discoverable and indexed by Google, and so you don't have to be. They don't have to be like on a blog in order to be discoverable by like indexed by Google. So that's a good thing that LinkedIn has, or LinkedIn articles have, the content. So yes, it is a good enough medium space for long form content. Okay, last call and then we say goodbye no matter how hard it is. Last call for question. Hey Mehdi, hi.
Hello. The question that I had is mostly, I think the answers that you provided during the session were quite helpful. But basically, in my case, I worked on different projects, mostly to build a portfolio because I seek a career change. My initial idea, and I never posted on LinkedIn, was to share those projects from an angle of my learning experience. Maybe it could be insights that could help others, because I'm not sure also if it could come up as self-promotion, bragging. So it's basically something I wanted to get your opinion on.
Yes. I love people that learn out loud or build in public. I find a lot of value in those posts, and I know that others do too. And I follow people on LinkedIn in my field, in learning and development, that do that very well. And I follow them because they do that. It doesn't come off as, I think what what's helpful to me is the lens that I put on when I post something. So am I wearing a lens and am I writing them from a language and from a place of pride? That's okay. I am proud. I did this thing. It was freaking cool. Look at me, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're building a portfolio and you're truly being like, I want to bring people along in this journey, then the lens you're going to wear is that of, here's what I'm experimenting with. Here's what I'm learning. This is what I'm trying. And in that case, I strongly encourage for you to put also the failed experiments and what you're learning, the things that are not working and why are they not working, and not only your success. The beautiful piece about building and learning out loud and building in public is you get to see the good and the bad. When you're proud of something and you want the spotlight, you're going to share the things that are working well. These are not in competition. One is not better than the other. But if you're worried about, will this come across as bragging, wear your learner curiosity lenses and write with that language and from that perspective, and it's going to come across as that. So there will always be people, you can't control what people think about you when you post something. You can't control how they feel about you. And they will definitely, that's their right to feel whatever they want to. And that's not your job. It's not our job to think about what people would think about us. So what if they think you're bragging? So what if they think you're... Some will always think something else that it isn't, no matter what you do. I would worry less about that. Wear the lenses that you want to wear and write from that intention. And it's going to come across like that for the right people.
Thank you.
Humble opinion here. Again, it's interesting to talk about a topic that you're not an expert in, but you've just done it for a while. So this was like a very fun session to host. It's not a topic that I talk about, to be honest, LinkedIn. But thanks for joining. Thanks for asking your questions. This was really fun. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Tag us in the post, me and Millie, and we'll be happy to interact. Enjoy the rest of your days wherever you are. And I'll see you on LinkedIn or in the Shakers or somewhere around the internet. Stay awesome.